I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 21st, brought to you in part by VITALIX. Not all tubs are created equal. VITALIX has a tub to meet your every need. VITALIX wants feeder flash gang members to have a chance to win free tubs. If you're watching this video on NationalBeefWire, click the VITALIX ad that's right next to this video to get more information on how you can win a free tub from VITALIX. If you're watching this on YouTube, go down into the descriptions and click on VITALIX to take you to that information on how you can win. Get the blue tub. Your cows will love you. For more information, go to vitalix.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. Big sales this week. On Monday, they had a big cow sale, sold nearly 1,200 cows. Had several replacement cows in there. They had a dispersal from the Dobson Ranch. They sold bred heifers from 4,000 to 4,400, and young 3 to 4 year old cows in their second stage of pregnancy from 4,400 to 4,750. Got a big sale here on Tuesday for their calf and yearling sale. Going to have 5,500 head. They've got a lot of calves, 3,000 head of calves. Most of them weighing 400 to 600 pounds. Only about 15% of them weaned, but most all of them have at least one round of shots in them. They've got 350 calves coming from Alva. There'll be 6 weights with 1 round in them. 250 head of calves coming from Elmwood, 4 to 6 weights with 2 rounds in them. Got over 100 calves coming from Pampa, Texas, 4 to 6 weights with 1 round of shots. And 115 head coming from Guyman. They'll be lighter, 3 to 5 weight calves with 1 round of shots in them. They got tons of consignments of 30 to 80 head of calves in there, and they'll be sorted up, sexed and sized there to fit your needs. They're going to have about 1,000 head of yearling heifers, most of them weighing 600 to 800 pounds. They got 140 8-weight heifers coming in from Clayton, New Mexico. 161 head of 7 weights coming from Plains, Kansas. 177 head of 7-weight heifers coming from Slapout, Oklahoma. They got 1,400 steers coming in, yearlings, 7 to 9 weights for the most part. They've got 137 head of 8-weight yearling steers coming in from Perryton, Texas. They have 124 8-weight steers coming in off the grass from Hardesty, Oklahoma. And 320 head of 8-weight yearling steers coming in from Clayton, New Mexico. Another nearly 100 head coming in, 9 weights from Slapout, Oklahoma. So big sale there in Beaver today. You can check them out, view and bid their sale on DVAuction.com. Products are overpriced, and that's just the way it is. I know we've had a little bit of a drama here since Trump mentioned that he's going to get the beef prices lower, and I love Trump. You guys know how much I love Trump. I respect him. He's my hero, but he don't know shit about agriculture. And I said that on our previous visit. I kind of blame Secretary Rawlins for not straightening him out, or at least keeping him back. And I wish they would not blab about cattle and beef markets during the week, on your traded week, whenever we have to suffer the consequences from what happens with the CME cattle futures, because I mean we're such a slave to those cattle futures, and a lot of your markets, your calf markets and yearling markets, were lower on Monday because of the sharply lower CME cattle futures on Friday. I think it's going to smooth out here, and we'll get back right where we were going before, but it sure made a hiccup there, and it was unneeded. Absolutely didn't need it. But if you start thinking about all the products that are overpriced, I just don't see where beef is necessarily a stick out there. Now, it's a big part of your grocery inflation, I guess, here, but we're in all-time high prices. We got really short supplies, but I just don't think it's that big of a deal in the whole scheme of things. Now, I do agree that one product of beef is seriously overpriced, and probably of the overpriced products, my number one, and that is beef jerky. Now that crap is overpriced, ridiculously overpriced. My favorite kind of beef jerky is no man's land beef jerky. They make up there in Boise City, Oklahoma. For a little old pouch of it, it's like 30 bucks. And I like to snack on it when I'm driving, but gosh, I can't get very far down the road on that $30 worth of no man's land beef and beef jerky there, because it is so extremely high priced. Another product that's extremely high priced is potato chips. You know, you get potato chips and they're unbelievably high priced. You open the bag and there's only chips, and down in the bottom third of the bag it's mostly all air, and they don't really amount to anything. I mean, when you start eating them, they just kind of disappear in your mouth. They're really high priced. Copenhagen is terribly overpriced. Surely we can do something about that. Maybe take all the taxes off of it, the sin taxes and things like that. But you know, $7.50 to probably $10 a can, depending on where you get it. I mean, and or more. It's ridiculous how overpriced that is. Bottled water is overpriced unless you buy it in a bulk at Walmart or Sam's or something like that. But if you go into a convenience store and buy one bottle of water, it's ridiculously overpriced. You can have a beer cheaper or a soda pop or something like that than the water. And I know that water was a hell of a lot easier. You just pour it in a bottle and seal it up. That's it. And you got bottled water there. I don't buy wine hardly ever. Maybe if I get invited to a kind of a fancy dinner or something like that at somebody's house and I feel like I need to buy. I don't know anything about wine. I don't drink wine, but the times that I bought it, it is terribly overpriced for a bottle of grape juice. I tell you what, it is overpriced, but not other alcohol products. You know, a good cold beer, I don't know how they make it so cold and good so cheap. I don't think beer is overpriced, and when you want a drink of it, whiskey's not overpriced either. I think it's worth whatever it costs for every drop. But some things are way overpriced, and I don't think we should get our feathers all ruffled up about what beef is costing in the stores, because the stores are gonna price it where they think they can sell it. And if they're not selling much of it, they're going to drop the price. And so we'll see that. You know, that's the way those things are priced off of. But looking at our imports of beef, last year in 2024, the United States imported more beef than we've ever imported. And that was when we saw the big run up in prices because we're so short of cattle. So, you know, that did not equal into lower beef, importing all that beef, but we imported 4.63 billion pounds of it, you know, and less than 100 million of the 4.63 billion, less than 100 million of it come from Argentina. Our biggest places that we got imported beef from last year was Australia was number one, Canada number two. And to tell you the truth, Canada is the only place that I really am going to feel comfortable importing beef, because I've seen how they feed their cattle over there, and I've seen how they slaughter them, and it is exactly the way we do it here, and I would feel comfortable about that. I don't know about Australia, haven't been over there to see that, but some of these other countries like Brazil and like Argentina, and then I'm sure Mexico and Uruguay and places like that, I'm not sure they got enough refrigeration for me to feel comfortable eating their beef. But Australia was number one, Canada was number two, Brazil was number three last year, and Mexico was number four. Argentina was eighth. So we're not getting much from Brazil now since Trump put the big tariffs on them. So it's a little bit of shake up there, but we're still getting beef products imported from several different places there. And it's just because there's such big demand, and most of it is just lean beef that we're going to put in the grinder. It's not steaks, it's not ribeye rolls, things like that. It's just something to put in the grinder and to keep that really lean. I want to tell you about the Punchy Pick of the Month contest. It's coming up here right away, guys. It happens every week, every month, a little bit quicker than I think than the last time. But Punchy Pick will be coming up here in a week or so. We want to give thanks to our sponsors. Of course, the Kids Corral is sponsored by Great Plains Livestock Consulting. They give a $200 gift certificate to Cavender's every month for the Kids Corral pick. And Great Plains is such a good good tool to use, especially if you're diversified in your agriculture. You'd like to bounce some things up about the cattle part of it with Great Plains Livestock Consulting. And many times they can save you what their fee is just in procuring cheaper feedstuffs for you, because they're so into that and they have connections everywhere, guys. Check them out. For the Punchy Pick of the Month contest, Beaver County Stockyards has always been there as a sponsor for us, still are. And Fairpiece, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven. Of course, that's the main part of the Punchy Pick of the Month contest. Prize is a whole case of Fairpiece to the winner. Of course, you're going to get all kinds of swag, and by that I mean caps and t-shirts and koozies and this and that, and just a ton of it. Guys, when the guys win it, they can't believe all the stuff they get. Sweatshirts and things. They get them from Beaver County Stockyards. They get them from NationalBeefWire. Get them from DVAuction, Feeder Flash, just all kinds of cool stuff. But the main thing is that whole case of Fairpiece, because everybody wants to try that product if they haven't already done it. But just to enter, just if you get a cool Punchy Pick, and we've had a bunch of them already put in for this month, just email that picture to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. You're automatically entered to win. Let's look at your board for Monday to start the week out. It was refreshingly much better after that hard down on Friday. A weekend really helps get rid of all that bad mojo on your board there. But October live cattle on Monday were up 160 at 241.85. December was up $1.85 at 243.65. Your back months were all higher too on live cattle, up $1.02 to up 172. October feeder cattle are also higher, $1 higher at 372.95. November feeder cattle up 97 cents at 372.67. Your back months though on feeder cattle were lower, from 12 cents lower to as much as $1.80 lower. December corn up three quarters of a cent there at 4.23 1/4 a bushel. November beans up 12.5 at 10.31 3/4. Hard red winter wheat for December down 1.5 cents a bushel at 4.90. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region totaled 70,500. That's a bunch for the way things are now. It used to be 100,000. We never get that many more, but 70,500 is a good movement. That compared to 41,900 the previous week and 62,500 the same week a year ago. Live prices, fat steers and heifers negotiated in your main feeding regions there, $235 to $241. That was $6 to $7 higher. Weighted average on live steers, $239.82. That was up $5.75 compared to the previous week's weighted average. Dress sales ranged from $370 to $378. That was $10 to $12 higher. And it could have been much higher yet if we didn't have so many guys pull the plug early. But your weighted average on dressed steers last week was $372.43, up $9.91 compared to the previous week. As a whole, your market in the Southern Plains was $5 higher at $240, and your Northern Plains was $5 to $6 higher at $240. Cattle are bringing the same everywhere, all the areas right now, which should be that way. Dress sales were $10 higher at $372. Now nationwide, negotiated, we sold 87,800. That compared to 54,150 the previous week and 78,900 the same week a year ago. of that 87,800 negotiated, about 22,500 or 25.5% of those were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. That's not uncommon there. Negotiated grid sales totaled 35,000 head. Forward contracts totaled 84,400 head. And forward contracts totaled 227,000, which is a pile, but it's down a bunch from normal there. Let's talk about your 4 out of your 5 feeding regions that we get information from. How much did they move? Iowa sold a ton of negotiated cattle. Last week only in Iowa they sold 36,350 head. Now Nebraska feeds a lot more cattle than Iowa. They don't have as many feed yards probably, but they're a whole lot bigger. Not as many farmer feeders. But Nebraska only sold 18,500 last week. Kansas sold many more than they usually sell, 10,800. We haven't seen that for a while. And Texas sold 4,800, which is a ton for them. Box beef cutout values were higher on Monday, and not just a little bit. Choice cuts ended on Monday afternoon at $369.18, up $2.41. Selects were $353.46, up $3.19. Your slaughter to start the week was very disappointing. Monday, your estimated cattle slaughter was only 95,000. That is nothing. That's 11,000 less than last Monday, 25,000 less than the same Monday a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Cattlemen's Insurance Agency, they are out there in Virginia, guys, and they specialize in LRP and PRF drought insurance, guys. Of course, led by Brandon Reeves, who heads up Virginia Cattlemen's Association. So they're in the markets all the time. They know exactly what's going on. They can help you select a protection price level for your cattle and get you an LRP. Or if you're worried about drought, they can get you a PRF statement there. For more information, give them a call. You can get more information at insurance@vacattleman.org. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index based on an 800-pound cash auction steer from DVAuction there. After all your Monday sales that concluded, sitting at 371.20, which was down 401 on a 7-day moving average. That's down pretty hard. It was tough around on Monday, guys, especially in your commodity sales that depend so much on your corporate buyers, and they just hinge on your board completely. And after board being down as hard as it was on Friday, they just had lower bids there. But your latest CME cash feeder cattle index was at 376.15. It will be coming down a whole bunch here next time it comes out. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 6,800 head. The feeders were $5 to $15 lower. Steer calves were also sharply lower, steer calves were steady except for 4 weights, and they were $10 to $20 higher. These market reporters don't expect anybody to read these trends to an audience there, because they sure don't make it easy like we used to back in the old days when I did it. Heifer calves were $5 to $15 lower. Stickout sale I saw out of Oklahoma City was National Livestock sold 57 head of steers, weighed 759 and bring 378. How about Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri? They underestimated. They had about 600 more than they were thinking. They had about 7,100 head. The feeder steers weighing under 8, which I guess would have been the calves, they sold $5 to $10 lower. However, those ones weighing over 800 pounds were steady to $5 higher. The feeder heifers were $5 to $12 lower. Heifer calves, lightweights, were steady to $10 higher. That's a yo-yo trend. Joplin was your Superior Steel Sales home of Superior Standard Livestock Equipment stick out sale of the day, and I was going to use another one, but they just didn't give me the well-rounded market test there. And when you got Joplin there every week, almost every single weight group and every class is well tested, why would you use another one? So you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you see 465 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 452 at 438.22 on the weighted average. 574 head of 5-weight steers, average 557 at 410.50. 578 head of 6-weight steers, average 640 at 381.36. There were 1,144 head of 7-weight steers at JRS on Monday. They averaged 743 pounds with a weighted average price of $373.86. 1,492 head of 8-weight feeder steers averaged 848 at $357.55. And 341 head of the 9-weight steers averaged 930 at $346.12. Look at the heifers. 420 head of 4-weight heifers averaged 452 with a weighted average of $399.66. 545 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 547 at $378.17. There were 346 head of 6-weight heifers. They averaged 652 at $361.28, and 273 head of 7-weight heifers in Joplin averaged 759 with a weighted average of $341.69. Now, a place that had some big yearlings up north, and they would be fancy, was Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. DVAuction broadcaster there. They had a lot of big yearlings. It was their barbecue special. They had 804 head of 9-weight feeder steers. They averaged 937 with a weighted average price of $349.92. They had a lot of heifers. I bet they were checked open heifers, some of them. 972 head of 8-weight feeder heifers averaged 844 at $338.45. And 906 head of 9-weight feeder heifers averaged 940 at $317.49. Now, a sale up north there that had a ton of fancy calves was Faith Livestock Auction. I told you all about their sale on our last visit. They had 11,200 head in Faith, South Dakota on Monday, not reported by any government market service there. So it's up to me, I guess. I'm going to tell you about the calf strings in there. All put together, they had 1,410 head of 4-weight steer calves. They averaged 462 with a weighted average price of $576.01. 3,390 head of 5-weight steer calves in Faith averaged 552 with a weighted average price of $498.17. Now, the heifers, there were 866 head of 4-weight heifer calves, averaged 461 at $484.17, and 1,564 head of 5-weight heifer calves, averaged 539 at $460.94. Very impressive sale at Faith Livestock Auction in Faith, South Dakota, and we're proud to broadcast them every week, guys, on DVAuction. Give you some individual quotes I thought were impressive. Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky sells 67 steers, weighed 791 at $379.50. Elgin Livestock Sales in Elgin, Nebraska. I got this update from Ted Baum straight from his hospital bed there. He had a little bout of pneumonia there in the past week or so, and he's been down, but told me he's feeling a whole lot better and thinks he's going to get out of there and get back to going here pretty quick. 224 head in one swath in Elgin, weighed 1062, pushing 1,100 pounds, guys, at 342. Wow. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, indeed come out of Faith, South Dakota, and Faith Livestock Auction. It was 135 Pee-wee steer calves weighed 429 pounds, and they bring $6.33 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.